What's going on, everybody? I just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate you all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Today, I want to talk about something I've been kind of dealing with for a minute now when it comes to kind of letting go of these negative emotions, these feelings, whatever feelings, emotions. I'm not sure what the difference is, but either way, it's like these states of consciousness that just kind of feel like shit, and ultimately are examples of who we aren't anymore. And kind of how I'm letting go of these things is really really more about kind of just facing it, experiencing it, and then ultimately just handing it over to God, and just realizing I just need to let this go, and it's because it's keeping me from feeling more joy, more love, more peace. Jesus talked about how many times you forgive somebody, and he said 70 times 7, which to me it just is like, okay, so you just continuously do it, and Jesus forgave the people that murdered him. So when it comes to like forgiveness and gratitude, so many of these things are stuff like the ego doesn't want to really accept, doesn't want, the ego doesn't want to be grateful, or forgive anything. The ego mind wants to constantly just be in a state of, I just want to fucking kill it. It's basically what the ego mind handles problems. It just wants to destroy them and pretend like that will fix it next time, instead of realizing that things work in these patterns, these cycles, these loops, and we're constantly walking into our consciousness, and where we're at in it, and so spinning out in like something like anger is something I'm becoming more and more familiar with, as now since I quit smoking cigarettes, I kind of had to process anger differently, and kind of explore, I guess, letting it go. But part of that is also there's a feeling of like shame or guilt, because it feels like, I had an emotion or a feeling that I feel like is contrary to what God wants me to feel. It's like, I had a murderous thought. I felt like killing somebody because they just pissed me off so fucking much. And then all of a sudden, then you start spiraling down. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm a piece of dirt, and now you start talking shit to yourself, which is an example of what happens when you put on that state of consciousness of guilt and shame. Well, now all of a sudden you start having these thoughts that reflect that state of consciousness, and you can sit there and try to get down to the bottom of, I'm going to try to fix my thoughts. But you can't fix your thoughts, because they're just kind of another reflection of your state of consciousness. You fix the thoughts by, letting go of that state of consciousness, and ultimately realizing that with God, all things are possible, and you've already been blessed. So you feel that now, and that's the difference between kind of the ego mind, where it's like, well, I got to strive, struggle, and through force and effort, eventually that something will pay off, and I'll be happy and peaceful and joyful. Not now, of course, it can't happen now, but maybe once I'm dead, then I can experience some love. Letting all that kind of shit go, and getting more and more into this vibe of experiencing it now, bringing the future to now, bringing the state that you're in your mind about, that if I only had, then I could be happy. Bringing that state of consciousness into the moment, into the now, is like you already have these things because God's already given it to you. The resistance you start to feel, or maybe the emotion. So if I'm in anger and I heard someone saying these things to me, it almost make me want to like lash out on that other person. It's like, how dare you say that I could be happy? I'm so mad right now that that everything just is ugly. And so then all of a sudden, then you start spiraling in this downward contracted state. This is the David Hawkins scale of consciousness, which is just another example, kind of the vertical dimension, these different labels. I'm not saying that this is like, not saying that this is how it is, and everything else is just, you use your own discernment with these things. But David Hawkins also wrote the book, Power versus Force, which check that out. I think it's a good thing to be inundating your consciousness with some of this material, and ultimately the external is not your source for knowledge and wisdom. Realize that this came from within you, and that from within is where you go for the real answers, for the real help. You might have some people along the way that are sharing their perspectives, but ultimately your perspective is what's real, and that's from within. So constantly go within, especially if the outer world is starting to trigger you. But and speaking of the outer world, I came across another guy's channel. I like to share. I've heard people say like the high vibe tribe, and I kind of like that. But I also don't want to take that from anybody who's like moving in that direction. But I like to share others that are kind of on the spiritual path and sharing just what's working for them, what's not working for them. And this guy, Be Something Wonderful. I'll put the link in the description. A lot of his. What am I doing? A lot of his videos. I've kind of binge watching his channel. It's been real helpful, and so I want to share that with you guys, just to give multiple perspectives. And I dig that guy's perspective. But yeah, when it comes to letting go of a lot of these things, I find the patterns that work in me. I like to escape things. I also like to say, get busy. Work is like one of those escapes for me, where I start to work all the time, and I just don't really focus on that mild irritation, those mild just frustrations, and in fact, even talking about emotions and feelings is difficult for me to do, because I've spent most of my adult life burying these things, and having every man in my life, basically encouraging that, where you just swallow it down in the pit of your stomach till eventually it kills you, and that's what it's like to be an adult. So it's like, okay, and so kind of like letting go of these things, it's hard for me to talk about, it's hard to share it, because it's just, it just makes me uncomfortable. But at the other end of it, hopefully, it stops being uncomfortable, that I don't have to sit here and try to run from these emotions, these feelings, or whatever, and that I can just move past them, because ultimately, realizing more and more that by holding on to them, I'm preventing joy and love and peace now, because realizing that joy wants you, to fully just be it. And, the only thing stopping that full manifestation is just the resistance. It's like, no, I don't want that. And the insanity is like, why don't I want to be peaceful or be happy? Why am I sitting here? A good example, is like, getting in an argument with my wife, and just, the argument I think lasted a couple minutes. Then even into the today, just being pissed off at her, pissed off at the situation, just being angry. And it's like, I don't want to continuously just be angry when I know, because you start seeing like the synchronicity, you start seeing how illusory things can be, and it's like, I could just be happy right now, but instead I'm choosing to be just pissed off. And then not only am I just pissed off, now I'm starting to spiral into guilt, because now I feel guilty because I'm being so mad. And just like realizing that I'm just experiencing an emotion. That's not who I am. That's just a feeling. That it's just a transitory state. It's not who I am. So why am I feeling guilt and shame over something that I'm not? It's like, yeah, I'm feeling it, but that doesn't mean I want to be. I definitely don't want to be. I want to let it go. I never want to experience it again. But with that, it's like also feeling like, oh, when I'm mad and angry, I'm just feeling these things that I'm doing, like I'm defying God's will. Like I should always just be happy and bubbly and just this and that, and then all of a sudden feeling full of anger, and then it's like then you start feeling guilt and shame, and then you start moving down the toilet. So part of getting into more high states of consciousness, maybe is a way to describe it, is to stop judging so much by getting more grateful and start moving up this scale, going up the vertical instead of spiraling down, because it's like first it starts with anger, then it starts to get guilt, and then it just spirals down, and this is a bottomless pit. It will continuously go down. If I'm going to just not process, not let it go, and just try to repress it, which is another thing I like to do. I don't like to do it. I just drift into it. It's just learning new techniques and whatever. That one is what I used to do, trying new things. But like obviously not being like, oh, that's what I want to continuously do. I don't want to continuously avoid shit. I don't want to escape it. I just want to like be able to process and handle my emotions better. And not be some victim of like my feelings. Like, oh, I'm gonna let that like dictate to me how I want to feel. When ultimately I can start to look at things differently and start changing the meaning that I'm kind of giving things to. Everything's going to my good. Everything's going to help me ultimately go up the scale. Looking at the shit that's repressed and buried as limiting things to the amount of joy I can feel right now. So it's a good thing that they come up so I can process it, let it go, and move up in expanded consciousness and awareness as the fear gets let go of and just ultimately handed over. And what's ultimately there is more love and joy. Realizing that these things are continuously in the now coming towards me and you ultimately. It's joy, happiness. The universe is friendly. God loves you and is trying to constantly just lift you up, bringing you to these higher states of consciousness and awareness. But it's almost like, because you don't want to let go of the lower states, the old, because there's a fear of doing now, that somehow being vulnerable like that they'll be able to hurt you, or whatever we tell ourselves. Looking at the thoughts themselves as just being a indicator of the state of consciousness, the feeling, the emotion. And then all of a sudden you have these corresponding thoughts about reality and your perception shifting out of that by ultimately realizing that you can choose to experience something differently. You don't have to continuously choose anger. You can choose joy, and as you choose, you realize that joy wants you. It's coming to you because it's being drawn from within. Ultimately, God is within you, and God draws it to you. So it's like, as you kind of connect with this new state, gratitude is a great way to stop judging yourself and judging others and judging the situation and circumstances and events. So start changing. What is this little sliver of gratitude that you can feel, or face that feeling head on and just let it bubble up. Feel it. How does it make you feel? You feel tense, feel contracted, maybe you feel shame that you feel it. God knows what you feel. God knows what's wrong with you. God knows that there's nothing wrong with you. God sees you as perfect now. It's you who sees yourself as less than. So it's you that feels unworthy. God sees you as worthy. God sees you as worthy of being happy, worthy of being abundant, worthy of being healthy, because you're part of God. You're created. You go within and connect with your Creator, and you realize these things. that God loves you, and that you are pushing it away because the resistance, because of something going on within that needs to be let go of, and maybe you just don't want to be hurt again. Maybe you just don't want to feel good, because then you have a fear of loss, that'll be taken from you again, and you got deceived again, you got tricked. All these things we tell ourselves, and these reasons why we don't give ourselves to be permission to be happy right now. And so much of it has to do with like how we process these emotions, and realize that we can process these emotions. We can process things differently. We can feel things differently. And if we're getting into these unconscious patterns of, addictions, is maybe, because there's all sorts of behavioral things that are kind of addictive. Even shopping is addictive. Trying to recreate a state, through some material means. It's like, smoking, or any of the so many things that we do, has to do almost with trying to escape our feelings. And I think a lot of it has to do with the guilt that we feel for just feeling, letting that go, realizing that your feelings are a blessing, that God gave you every feeling that you have, and that you have nothing shameful, that ultimately it's about learning who you are now, or maybe not even learning. I've kind of have some maybe resistance when it comes. Life's a school. It seems like it's like you already know everything that you need to know. That's who you are once you let go of all the bullshit. Once you let go of the bag of bricks that you keep carrying, who you actually are is love and joy and peace. These aren't things to strive to achieve. It's just once you let go of all the crap, this is what you are. You are love. You are not fear. And so, the more that you kind of face these different things, and realize that, and that's the thing. I get into this all the time, where it's like I'll get pissed off and I'll get mad, and you get that inner voice being like, how long are you gonna be like this? It's only ever now. So you want to continuously just be drifting. You want to continuously, now you're feeling some shame and guilt for how you acted. And it's like, why do you want to keep feeling this way when you can, like that, realize that you can choose joy right now. You can choose to be happy right now. You can choose love instead of like spinning out in this downward spiral. Just feeling, just feeling these emotions and not letting them go, thinking that you have to sit there and battle with them, or you don't feel worthy because you feel a certain way, or you feel some guilt. Once you let these things go, you realize that's not even who you are. That these are coming to the surface because it's part of this process where, ultimately God is helping you to hold higher and higher states of joy and love and peace, without trying to escape the baggage or repressed feelings. That's the other thing I kind of am guilty of doing, is repressing, suppressing, and escaping. It's like, why am I so often just trying to not process and deal with these, maybe some people will call that your shadow side. These emotions that you deal with, these feelings that maybe based on fear, ultimately survival, scarcity, separation. That's where a lot of this is stemming from. But putting a new thought instead, because it's like, as you kind of maybe are in anger or shame or guilt, or ultimately just fear, then it's almost like that vibration, now you're seeing more of it, and now it's like, now you're just digging deeper and deeper, and it's like, shit, now why can't I have like a happier situation? Why am I dealing with assholes again that are just running their mouths and doing this and doing this? It's like, what is wrong with these people? And not making the connection. Oh, maybe if I change my attitude, or maybe if I put on a new, put it on, wear that state of consciousness of like unity, love, forgiveness, and gratitude, Maybe that will be a better experience in the now. But you got to make that choice. It's like, I'm going to choose to like forgive that person, because as you forgive others, what you're actually doing is forgiving yourself in a lot of different ways, because so many times the stuff that we see in others, stuff that we're judging in others, is showing us where we are not forgiving continuously, and loving, ultimately loving God, loving people. Jesus, said we forgive 70 times 7, to love our enemies, to bless, the people that we're perceiving as like the they. It's a different kind of mindset, of realizing that as you do that, as you're forgiving others, as you're loving others, you're also starting to love yourself more. You're also starting to move up this side, up the vertical, more and more so. Start letting go in little bits. If you say you're just like really full of anger, try to look into that and like, well, what is the blessing in that? Why did I? What is that? What's the good in this? Start small. Start in just a tiny little bit. Before you can maybe let go of the entire thing. Start finding little pieces where you can start moving in this way, because it doesn't seem to really matter. It stops the downward flow and starts at least maybe just holding position as you start to really face how you're feeling, why you're feeling it, what the other, how that all plays together. Ultimately go within to do that. If you're one of the other things I kind of realize I do is try to constantly be occupied, with it's another kind of escapism where it's like I have the TV on, have the YouTube on, have an ebook on, because the silence is just being in the silence is just the silence and then the emotion. And it's like, I want to suppress the emotion. I don't want to face it yet. So I'm going to bury it. I'm going to pretend it's not there. And then all of a sudden, when you pretend it's not there, and then some maybe random event, random, nothing's random, but like maybe something happens that all of a sudden reminds you of that feeling that you've been suppressing for 20 years. And then you kind of take it out on, you project it onto somebody else, and now they don't even know what the fuck's going on. And it's just like, why are you all of a sudden like this? What did I do? I just said what's going on. And all these different things. But the more looking inwardly, and also facing the feelings, realize that they're there, and ultimately give them to God. And it's like, within yourself, you're like, I choose to feel joy. I got this anger. I don't know what to do with it. It's like, I just give it to you. I give it to the Holy Spirit within. How what am I supposed to think of this? Realize, more and more so, it's like, the ego likes to think it knows why you feel these different things, why things happen. But really hand that over. It's like, well, I'm sitting with this feeling. I can't seem to let it go. So I'm just going to observe it. I'm going to observe it, and I'm not going to think I know what it means. I'm going to ask God what it means. It's like, I just hand it over. I don't know what this is. I don't know how. I'm not going to sit here and judge it anymore. But I'm going to start to be finding the nuggets of gratitude or forgiveness, and start from there. Start small. And start manageable, and then start working for the entire thing to be let go of. Because it's like, as soon as you let go of it completely out of your consciousness, the perception of reality changes, and it's almost like you shift, and it's like that you don't lose, you only gain. And by doing that, and what you gain is like the knowledge that joy wants you right now. You are already blessed. Everything that you desire, God has already given you right now. It's the gift of God. All you have to do is receive it. The shit that comes up, that resistance to feeling fully blessed right now, that's the next thing to work on. You don't have to look far to do anything. It's always happening now, and anything preventing you from fully realizing joy now, you know, these feelings, this programming, this conditioning, whatever we want to call this, whatever bubbled up right there is preventing you from fully realizing more and more joy. So you kind of keep moving up the vertical dimension through surrender and letting go. It's like, well, that just popped up into my awareness as some feeling I didn't know was there that I repressed. I'm going to face it. I'm going to observe it. I'm going to recognize I'm not that. And then ultimately I'm going to hand it over. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to ask Jesus how I process this. Because you're not alone. You don't got to figure this thing out by yourself. You are connected to infinite intelligence within you. So be still and know God, and connect with God, and and start to feel that energy of love now, because it exists right now. It's there. And I just want to share that with you guys. I also want to share this guy's channel too, in case you just kind of dipped in. I always like when I find others that are kind of going on this walk and hearing their perspective on how they're dealing with different things. This guy's channel is Be Something Wonderful. I'll put the link in the description. If you're looking for another perspective, another person on their journey, check this guy out. I've been kind of binge watching his channel, and I encourage you guys to check him out, subscribe. I don't want to like steal like this saying, because I've heard others saying the high vibe tribe and shit. But like it's a good thing to kind of support each other and check out each other's stuff, and kind of create a little community or whatever. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys' attention, and liking, sharing, commenting, all that kind of social networking things. I like to wrap this thing up with a quote-unquote random Bible verse. Nothing's random. God's 100% in control of literally everything, and speaks to us in the moment. I just want to give God a chance to speak to you, who's ever listening now. See what God's got to say. 1 Thessalonians 5:8. But let us, who are of the day, be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet, the hope of salvation. There you go. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys. I'd already just said that, but I appreciate you guys, and have a good rest of your now, and hopefully this is helpful. And God bless.